fantasy football season's right around the corner, and drafts are coming up in the next couple weeks for owners. So he has a few running backs that are going to be bust this season, in my opinion. The first guy is Raheem Mostert of the San Francisco 49ers. So Raheem Mostert, we know he's a good talent. We know he's a playmaker, and he's very explosive running back, no doubt about it. But the last few seasons, since he got a big workload with this Niner team, it just one injury after another. Like, he would pop off a 70-yard run, and then 2 plays later, he's out of the ball game with an injury. And when he goes down, he misses multiple games, not just a week-to-week thing here with Mostert. So last season, 104 rushing attempts, 521 yards, 2 touchdowns, 16 catches, 156 yards down, receiving with a fumble loss. So this season for Mostert, they're projecting 1,088 yards total, 25 catches and 6 total touchdowns. So if he puts up those numbers, those are pretty solid, but I don't think he's going to make the full season as the starter, and I don't even think he'll be healthy for all 17 games this season as in Mostert. And Trey Sermon, he's definitely looking over his shoulder. They drafted this impressive rookie in the offseason here, are the 49ers, and he's a player I'm high on going into drafts, and a running back that I recommended to target, and a sleeper as well in other videos if you've been watching those. But Mostert, I don't think he's going to last this year as a starter, and he's just a guy I can't trust, especially taking him in the 5th to the 7th round. I'll let someone else deal with his injury-prone problems, and I'll go in a different direction at running back with a more proven guy. So I think Raheem Mostert will be a bust this season. The next running back I think is going to be a bust is Joe Mixon of the Cincinnati Bengals. So Joe Mixon, I just don't like where he's going in fantasy drafts. Late first, middle second round for the most part. I've been seeing him going in mock drafts over the last couple days here. On the season, they're projecting him 1,540 total yards, 53 catches, and 8 total touchdowns. But Joe Mixon, another guy where he's had injury problems throughout his career. And last season, he was down for a long time. I think he missed 8 to 10 games last year. 428 rushing yards on 119 carries, 3 rushing touchdowns, 21 catches, 138 yards, and a touchdown. So this season, if he stays healthy, I think he'll be a pretty decent player. But I think this is going to be a pass-first offense with Joe Burrow in his second year on the center. And obviously, they got another great weapon for him in Jamar Chase here of the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think they're going to throw happy, pass happy, and they're going to be a team that's going to be trailing a lot in ball games this season, especially in a tough division where the Cleveland Browns improved over the last season and a half. They were good last year. Baltimore, they're always in there. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have an explosive offense for sure this season. So I think Joe Mixon, he's going to be more on the back burner and not get as many yards as people are projecting him. And a player I wouldn't get in the second round. If he's there 3rd, 4th round, of course, I would take him. But right now, I'm not a big Joe Mixon guy coming into the season. And I think he's going to be a bust at the running back position. The next running back I think is going to be a bust this season is Josh Jacobs of the Las Vegas Raiders. So Josh Jacobs, we know one thing about him. He's not a good receiving running back out of the backfield. And the other down thing for him is Kenyon Drake, who we know could be a 3-down back. We've seen it with him with the Dolphins and the Arizona Cardinals over the last few seasons. Signed a deal with the Raiders in the offseason. So the projections here for Jacobs, 1,388 yards, 29 catches, and 8 touchdowns they're projecting this season for him. But last season for Jacobs, he did crack 1,000 yards, 1,065 yards, 273 carries, 12 touchdowns, 33 catches, and 238 yards with 2 fumble losses. But I think there was so many games last season where Jacobs disappeared. The first 6 to 8 weeks of the season, he was one of the better running backs in all of fantasy football, but he lost a lot of steam as the season went on, and he missed a few games with injury as well. But now over there in Vegas, I think we're going to see a 60-40 or a 50-50 split with Jacobs and Kenyon Drake, because you don't bring in a guy like Kenyon Drake who can play 3 downs, could catch the ball out of the backfield into the mix, and have him sitting on the bench or only getting 5 to 8 touches a game. I think we're going to see both these guys have a pretty equal role in the backfield and touches as well. So right here, Josh Jacobs, he's going late 3rd, early 4th round in most fantasy drafts. And he's another guy I just don't want to bother with, especially with Drake there, especially that he's not a capable receiver really out of the backfield. And I just think he's going to bust out with all those things going against him this season. The next running back I think is going to be a bust is Miles Sanders of the Philadelphia Eagles. I know Miles Sanders last season, he was a early second round pick, and he was a total bust last season with injury and a lot of game script not going the Eagles' way. And he's another guy that's not much of a catch passer out of the backfield of Sanders. Last season, 867 yards rushing on 165 carries, 6 touchdowns. He did have 28 catches, 197 yards receiving, and a 2-point conversion with 2 fumble losses. But this season, I don't think Sanders is going to be that good again. And we'll see how he fits with Jalen Hurts, a quarterback, because Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, he's going to take some of those goal line carries away from Sanders and take it himself. We know he's a good running quarterback who could get 600 to 800 yards on the ground is Hurts. So a lot of plays Sanders could be getting, he might not be getting with Hurts there. And if they're down in ball games, we're going to see a lot of Boston Scott, in my opinion, as a third down back over there in Philly. So right now, Sanders, he's going about third, fourth round in most fantasy drafts, but he's a guy that was a disappointment last season. And this season, they're projecting him 1,430 total yards and 42 catches with 8 touchdowns. So if he puts up that season, that'll be great, but I just don't see it happening this year. And I think he's a guy that we're going to see multiple times him score single-digit points throughout the season. So I think Miles Sanders is going to be a bust. And I know a lot of other fantasy people who talk about him think he's going to have a bounce back and a good season. But last year, in my opinion, he was banged up and he just looked slow and not as explosive as he was in his rookie year with the Eagles. So this season, I think he's going to be a bust once again. And the 5th and final bust I think we're going to see this year, running back, is Kareem Hunt of the Cleveland Browns. So Kareem Hunt last season as a good backup and a guy who played a lot for this Brown team, even though they got an all-star running back, and Nick Chubb was going to be a stud once again this season. Kareem Hunt, he played a good role, and he had some good fantasy games, and we even saw him start a few games when Nick Chubb was out with injuries. So last season for Hunt, 198 carries, 841 yards, 6 rushing touchdowns, 38 catches, 304 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So a very good season, 11 total touchdowns. He had over 1,000 yards, about 1,150 yards altogether. And I don't know if he's going to do that once again. He was a great running back, no doubt. But now I think Nick Chubb, after he got his extension, is going to get more work. He's going to be working more as a receiver as the backfield. And Kareem Hunt, I think, might get lost in the shuffle a little. He's still going to get 8 to 12 touches a game, in my opinion, is Hunt. But right now, he's going late 4th, early 5th round. And I don't think I'm going to take him that high in fantasy drafts is Hunt. If he falls down a little more, then he's worth a shot. But right here at that pace, when he's not even a starter to get him, I don't think it's worth the risk in the late 4th, 5th round. And I think he's going to bust out pretty much because of his ADP. Like if he was ranked a little lower, I think it's good value, but I don't think he's great value in the 4th or 5th round, especially when you got a star like Nick Chubb ahead of him over there in Cleveland. So those are a few running backs that I think are going to be busts here heading into the 2021 football season and heading into your fantasy drafts if you want to use some of these strategies and avoid some of these guys.